The surgical suite fell silent as Dr. Rebecca Winters froze, forceps suspended midair, her eyes wide with disbelief. What she had extracted from Ava Woods's back wasn't a typical melanoma. It was something else entirely. "Oh my God!" Nurse Patricia whispered, then screamed, stumbling backward until she hit the instrument tray, sending metal clattering across the floor. Through the observation window, Marcus Woods pressed his weathered hands against the glass. He'd known something was wrong with that mole for years, but never this. Never something that could make a veteran nurse of 30 years scream in horror. "Get Dr. Thornton in here now," Dr. Winters commanded, her voice steady despite the trembling of her hands. What had been growing inside Ava Woods's back for 45 years since Vietnam? And more importantly, was it too late? Part 1. The Discovery. Ava and Marcus Woods had built their life together in the small lakeside town of Millfield, Michigan, where the changing seasons marked the passing of their 46 years of marriage. Their modest two-story home sat 3 blocks from Lake Michigan, close enough to hear the waves on stormy nights. At 65, Ava stood as straight as she had at 25, her broad shoulders only slightly stooped from years working construction alongside her husband. The small bronze star tucked away in her dresser drawer spoke of bravery she never discussed. "No sense dwelling on things you can't change," was Ava's life philosophy, applied to everything from broken appliances to broken bodies. Marcus, or Mark as Ava had called him since their first date in 1975, had spent his career shaping young minds as an elementary school teacher. What Marcus didn't know was that before they'd met, Ava had served in Vietnam with the 101st Airborne, an experience she'd buried so deeply that sometimes she convinced herself it had happened to someone else. Their only daughter, Lily, had followed her mother's hidden military inclinations rather than her father's known teaching career, becoming an emergency physician in Chicago. The 3-hour distance had grown greater than geographical miles, widened by Ava's disapproval of her divorce. "That mole's been there forever," Ava would dismiss whenever Marcus mentioned the dark spot between her shoulder blades. "Had it since Nam. Just another souvenir." Marcus had noticed it changing over the years, darkening, developing irregular borders. But Ava would wave away his concerns with the same certainty she used to predict Michigan weather. Their 46th anniversary dinner changed everything. Marcus had spent the afternoon preparing Ava's favorite meal, pot roast with root vegetables and his special cornbread. As he helped her with her shirt, he froze. The mole had transformed dramatically since he'd last seen it during their summer trip to the lake. "Ava," he said carefully, "when did this mole start changing?" "It's fine, Mark. Been there forever. It's different. It's bigger, and the shape has changed." Throughout dinner, Marcus found himself watching Ava's movements, looking for any sign of discomfort. When their 5-year-old granddaughter Emma visited unexpectedly, she pointed at Ava's back and asked in that crystal-clear voice of childhood, "Grandma, why is there a spider on your back?" The room went still. "It looks like the spider we found in the bathtub," Emma persisted. "The one with the bumpy back." Marcus took a photo with his phone. When he showed it to Ava, her face paled beneath her perpetual tan. The mole had transformed dramatically, irregular borders resembling appendages reaching outward, the center risen into a dome-like structure. "I'm calling Dr. Grayson tomorrow," Marcus said firmly. "No arguments." For once, Ava didn't argue. Part 2. The Diagnosis. Dr. Grayson's usual jovial demeanor disappeared the moment he examined Ava's back. "I'm referring you to a dermatologist immediately. Dr. Rebecca Winters. She's young but brilliant." "That serious?" Ava asked, attempting her usual nonchalance. Dr. Grayson met her eyes directly. "This needs expert attention now." 3 days later, Dr. Rebecca Winters examined the growth with growing concern. "How long have you had this, Ms. Woods?" "Had a mole there since Vietnam," Ava answered. "Been changing lately." "Define lately," Dr. Winters prompted. "Noticeable changes in the past 6 months," Marcus interjected. "But dramatic changes just in the past week." Dr. Winters nodded, taking photographs. "Any symptoms?" "Pain, itching, bleeding. Some discomfort recently," Ava admitted. "And?" She hesitated, glancing at Marcus. "Sometimes it feels like it's moving." Instead of dismissing this, Dr. Winters leaned closer. "Movement sensations aren't uncommon with certain types of growths. I'd like to do a biopsy today." After the biopsy, Dr. Winters's frown deepened. The tissue is denser than I expected. I'm sending these to the lab today, marked for priority processing. That night, Marcus set up a camera to record Ava sleeping. At 3:17 a.m., the footage captured something chilling. The bandaged area rippled slightly, the medical tape lifting at one edge as if something beneath it was shifting. The call from Dr. Winters came earlier than expected. The results are inconclusive in some ways, Dr. Winters explained. There are abnormal cells present, but other findings that don't fit typical melanoma. I've consulted with Dr. Michael Thornton, an oncologist. We need to do a more extensive removal. After they hung up, Ava stood silently by the kitchen counter, her face unreadable. I knew a guy in my unit, she said finally. Got some jungle rot that the medics couldn't figure out. Turned out he had some kind of parasite burrowed under his skin. She looked at Marcus, her eyes haunted. You think that's what this is? Some Vietnamese bug that's been living in me all these years. That evening, they received an unexpected visitor. Tommy Williams, Ava's war buddy, knocked on their door, his expression serious. Show me, he said to Ava. She turned and lifted her shirt, revealing the bandaged area. Shape of it? Tommy asked. Sort of spider-like, I guess. Emma called it that. Tommy's weathered face paled. Johnson had something similar. Remember him? Radio operator from Charlie Company. Ava nodded slowly. He died from some weird cancer 5 years back. Started as what they thought was a mole on his back. VA doctors had some theory about Agent Orange exposure. Tommy looked directly at Ava. You were with us in the blue zone, weren't you? Ava nodded grimly. 3 weeks in 71. The areas that got the heaviest spraying, Tommy explained to Marcus. Before Johnson died, he told his wife the same thing Ava's been saying. He thought the thing on his back was moving. Part 3. The surgery. The morning of surgery arrived with a sense of suspended reality. In the operating room, Dr. Winters carefully separated the growth from surrounding tissue. Remarkable structure, she murmured. I've never seen anything like this network of fibrous extensions. Almost like it's anchoring itself deliberately, Dr. Thornton observed. See how these tendrils follow the facial planes? As Dr. Winters worked deeper, she paused. I can see something reflective. Definitely metallic. Could be shrapnel. Using delicate forceps, she gently probed the edge. That's not random shrapnel, Dr. Thornton said, his voice tense with surprise. That appears to be a bullet fragment. As she lifted it away, the tissue around the now empty cavity seemed to collapse and restructure itself before their eyes. Oh my God! Nurse Johnson screamed. Through the observation window, Marcus pressed his hands against the glass, his heart racing. The tissue, it's reconfiguring, Dr. Winters said, her eyes wide. I've never seen anything respond like this to foreign body removal. It's like it was built around the bullet fragment, Dr. Thornton said. The body created this elaborate structure to isolate it. After the surgery, Dr. Winters met with Marcus and Lily in the consultation room. She placed a sealed specimen container on the table. Through the clear plastic, they could see a small, misshapen piece of metal. This was embedded in the center of the growth, Dr. Winters explained. It's a bullet fragment, approximately 45 years old based on its condition. Marcus stared at the fragment. Ava never mentioned being shot. Many veterans don't discuss their injuries, Dr. Winters said gently. But what's truly remarkable is what her body did in response. Instead of forming a simple scar capsule, Ava's immune system created this elaborate structure, tissue that actively worked to neutralize potential toxins leaching from the metal. But why now? Lily asked. Why would it suddenly become symptomatic after all these years? That's one of many questions we don't have answers for yet, Dr. Winters admitted. When they finally saw Ava in recovery, groggy but alert, Marcus took her hand. They found a bullet fragment, he said quietly. You had a piece of metal in your back for decades. Ava's expression didn't register surprise, only weary confirmation. Figured it might be something like that. You knew. Not for sure, she admitted, but I took some shrapnel during a firefight near Quang Tri in 71. Medic patched me up, said most of it was superficial. One piece went deeper. By the time we got back to base, The wound had closed up. They figured if it wasn't causing problems, best to leave it alone. "And you never thought to mention this?" Marcus couldn't keep the hurt from his voice. Ava's eyes opened, meeting his. "When I got home, everyone was either treating vets like we were monsters or looking at us with pity. I didn't want either. I just wanted to move forward." Her hand tightened around his. "And by the time I met you, it seemed like ancient history. Never gave me any trouble until now." "Well, it's out now," Lily said pragmatically. "And they're running tests to understand exactly what it was doing in there." Part 4. The Crisis. Ava's homecoming should have marked the beginning of recovery, but the first 2 days passed normally. On the third day, everything changed. Marcus woke at dawn to find Ava's side of the bed empty. He found her in the kitchen, sitting rigidly at the table, her face ashen with sweat. "Couldn't sleep," she said, her voice strained. "Back's on fire." Lily appeared immediately, her clinical gaze assessing. "Mom, you need to lie down. Let me look at your back." The bandage was spotted with rust-colored discharge. When Lily removed it, both she and Marcus inhaled sharply. The incision was angry and inflamed, with peculiar mottled appearance and distinct swelling that pulsed with each heartbeat. "We need to get her back to the hospital," Lily said. "Now." Within the hour, Ava was back in the emergency department, her temperature climbing to 103 degrees Fahrenheit. "This isn't a typical post-surgical infection," Dr. Winters said. "We need to take her back to surgery immediately." As they prepared to move her, Ava suddenly gripped Marcus's hand with surprising strength. "There's a metal box," she said urgently. "Back of my workbench. Combination is your birthday. If I don't—" She paused, struggling for breath. "You should know what's in there." "You can show me yourself when you're better," Marcus whispered, pressing a kiss to her forehead. The second surgery was longer and more complex. Hours passed with agonizing slowness. Finally, near midnight, Dr. Winters appeared, her face drawn with fatigue. "Ava is in critical condition," she began. "We found an aggressive infection causing rapid necrosis along the facial planes where the growth had extended. It's as if removing the growth triggered an inflammatory cascade." "Will she recover?" Marcus asked. "I can't make promises. The next 24 to 48 hours will be critical." In the ICU, Ava lay unconscious, connected to machines that breathed for her. Marcus approached slowly, carefully taking her hand. "I'm here, Ava," he said softly. "You need to fight this." That night, Marcus couldn't resist. He went to Ava's workshop and found the metal box. Inside lay dog tags, a faded photograph of young soldiers, a Purple Heart still in its presentation case, and a sealed envelope with Marcus written on it. With trembling fingers, he opened the letter. "My dearest Marcus, if you're reading this, it's time you knew the full truth about what happened in Vietnam and why I've kept it hidden all these years. It wasn't just a bullet fragment. It was evidence. In April 1971, my unit was operating near Quang Tri when we received intelligence about a village allegedly harboring NVA forces. What we found instead were civilians. Women, children, elderly men. No weapons. No enemy soldiers. Our commanding officer, Lieutenant Harris, was convinced the intelligence was correct. As we carried out orders to search every hut, a firefight broke out at the edge of the village. In the chaos that followed, Harris lost control. He ordered us to neutralize the village. Most of us stood frozen. That's when I saw him raise his weapon toward a group of villagers huddled together. I did the only thing I could think of. I tackled him. His weapon discharged, and I felt the bullet tear into my back. In the struggle, I managed to subdue him, but not before he'd wounded 2 villagers. The official report stated we were ambushed, that Harris was killed by enemy fire while protecting civilians, and that I was wounded in the same engagement. It was a lie. Harris survived. He was quietly transferred out and eventually discharged. The bullet in my back was American, not Vietnamese. 3 other soldiers in my unit knew the truth: Tommy Williams, Dave Wilson, and Carl Johnson. We made a pact to never speak of it. We were just kids, scared, and wanting to go home. The Purple Heart they gave me is a fraud. I couldn't bear to wear it. So I buried it away, along with the memories. I've carried this secret for so long that it became part of me, Like that bullet fragment, something foreign embedded so deeply it couldn't be removed without causing damage. I'm sorry for not trusting you with this truth. Some wounds never truly heal. They just get walled off by scar tissue in time. Whatever happens, know that loving you has been the great redemption of my life. Always yours, Ava. Take a moment and kindly like this video and subscribe on this channel before we continue. Marcus pressed the letter to his chest, tears streaming down his face as decades of his wife's silent burden became clear. Part 5. Healing. Dawn broke as Marcus returned to the hospital. In Ava's room, the monitors showed slight improvements. Dr. Winters appeared with cautious optimism. She's fighting back. These are good signs. Around noon, a nurse rushed in. Her eyelids are fluttering. She might be trying to wake up. Marcus hurried to her side. Ava, can you hear me? For a terrible moment, there was no response. Then, almost imperceptibly, Ava's fingers twitched against his, a squeeze. She can hear you, the nurse confirmed. Keep talking to her. For the next hour, Marcus spoke continuously about their home, about Lily's presence, about the garden he would plant once she was well. When Tommy Williams arrived, bearing Ava's worn Bible from Vietnam, Ava's eyes finally opened, just barely, but unmistakably conscious. The ventilator prevented her from speaking, but her gaze moved deliberately between them. I found your letter, Ava, Marcus whispered. I know about Lieutenant Harris and what happened in that village. I understand why you kept it secret all these years. He stroked her forehead gently. You have nothing to be ashamed of. What you did that day saved lives. Ava's eyes filled with tears that spilled silently down her temples. Dr. Winters arrived quickly. This is excellent progress. If she continues improving, we may be able to wean her from the ventilator tomorrow. Epilogue. 6 months later. Ava sat on the front porch, watching late June sunlight filter through the maple leaves. Her recovery had been slow but steady. 2 weeks in the hospital, another month in rehabilitation, and then the gradual return to normal life. Marcus emerged from the house, carrying 2 glasses of iced tea. He handed one to Ava and settled into the wicker chair beside her. Lily called, he said. She's presenting the case study next week at the medical conference. Says there's been enormous interest from veterans health researchers. Ava nodded, a hint of pride crossing her face. Still seems strange having doctors excited about something that tried to kill me. Something that protected you for 45 years, then tried to kill you, Marcus corrected gently. The months of recovery had transformed more than just Ava's physical health. After Marcus had shared the letter, conversations that had been impossible for decades now flowed easily. Ava had contacted a military historian, recording her account of what had happened near Quang Tri. Without naming the other soldiers involved, she had finally spoken her truth. I've been thinking, Ava said now, about that trip we always talked about. Which one? The big one. Vietnam. Marcus's glass stilled halfway to his lips. You're serious? Ava nodded. Tommy found this Veterans Reconciliation Program. American vets returning to meet with Vietnamese veterans, visit sites, even participate in community projects. He's thinking of going in October. And you want to join him? I think maybe it's time to see it through different eyes, not as a terrified 20-year-old soldier, but as an old woman who's had a good life despite what happened there. She turned to face him directly. But I'd only go if you came too. Marcus reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining with the easy familiarity of decades. I never thought I'd want to see those places, but now, with you, yes, I think it might be healing for both of us. They sat in comfortable silence as evening shadows lengthened across the lawn. So much had changed since that January day when Marcus had noticed the changing mole on Ava's back. What had begun as a medical crisis had transformed into a journey of truth-telling and reconciliation neither had anticipated. The ringing phone interrupted their contemplation. Marcus went inside to answer it, returning moments later with a puzzled expression. That was Dr. Winters, he said. She wants to meet with us tomorrow. Says there's something important about your case. The following morning, Dr. Winters greeted them warmly. First, let me assure you this isn't about any health concern. Ava's recovery continues excellently. Then what's this about, Doc? Ava asked. Dr. Winters opened a folder. The final metallurgical analysis of the bullet fragment revealed something unexpected. The bullet wasn't standard military issue, not American, not Vietnamese. The composition is consistent with custom-loaded ammunition. Additionally, the trajectory analysis suggests the bullet entered at an unusual angle, inconsistent with traditional combat firing positions. "What are you saying exactly?" Marcus asked. "I'm saying the physical evidence doesn't align with a standard combat injury. It's consistent with a close-range discharge during a struggle, exactly as described in your account of your confrontation with Lieutenant Harris." Ava exhaled slowly. "Why are you telling us this?" "Because this physical evidence corroborates your testimony. The Department of Veterans Affairs has requested these findings as part of their review of similar incidents. With your permission, I would provide them with the technical analysis." Ava was silent for a long moment. Finally, she asked, "There were others? Other incidents like what happened in that village?" Dr. Winters nodded solemnly. "Unfortunately, yes. Your testimony, along with this physical evidence, helps establish a pattern that officials are now acknowledging decades later." "Will this help other veterans?" "Potentially, yes. Both medically and in terms of validating experiences that were officially denied or covered up." Ava nodded decisively. "Then you have my permission. Use whatever you need for my case." Later that evening, as Lily helped Marcus prepare dinner, she marveled at the change in her parents. "All those years, I knew something was locked away, but I never understood what." "We thought we were protecting you by not burdening you with our ghosts," Marcus said. "But they shaped our family anyway," Lily observed. The silences, Mom's nightmares, her reluctance to talk about the military. Through the kitchen window, they could see Ava on the porch, deep in conversation with Tommy Williams. The two old soldiers sat with heads bent together, their postures more relaxed than Marcus could remember seeing in decades. "They're planning the Vietnam trip," Lily said. Marcus nodded. "I think it's important for her, for both of us, really." On the porch, Ava looked up and caught Marcus watching her. She smiled, a genuine, unguarded smile that reached her eyes and erased decades of careful self-containment. In that moment, Marcus saw not just the woman he had married, but the whole of her. The young soldier, the wounded veteran, the wife who had kept parts of herself hidden. And now this newest version, a woman finally at peace with her complete story. The bullet that had lived within her for nearly half a century was gone. But what remained was something more valuable. The truth it had carried, finally exposed to the healing light of day. The end. Ava and Marcus's story reminds us that it's never too late to heal old wounds and share our deepest truths. For nearly 50 years, they carried separate burdens, one with a bullet fragment physically embedded in her body, the other unknowingly living alongside secrets he couldn't see. It took a medical crisis at age 65 to finally bring hidden pasts to light, allowing them to truly see each other completely for the first time. Their journey shows us that the secrets we think protect us often become the walls that separate us from those we love most. The courage to be vulnerable, even after decades of silence, can open doors to deeper connection and unexpected healing.